The Holy Spirit what? Produces. He produces this kind of fruit in our lives. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. And he says this is where it kind of comes together. Those who belong to Jesus have nailed their passions and desires. They nailed that war with two selves to the cross and crucified it there. And then it goes on to say, but since we're now living by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives. As Paul brings this whole thing kind of to completion for the church in Galatia, he says, look, there's this part of you that's spirit and that's flesh and spirit, and you have to understand your job is to not produce anything. Not to produce anything. It's to take that war that's within you, that battle of two selves, that good intention versus the brokenness of your life. Yeah, it's to take all of that and to allow it to be crucified with Christ. So you can have the power of what it looks like to live in the Spirit in every area of your life. In every area of your life, following that Spirit's leading. And who produces it, right? Jesus produces that. It's Jesus through His Holy Spirit. He produces that transformed life. Now, when it's you and I trying to produce it, okay, just understand, well, that's why I love this list that Paul gives, because when it's you and I trying to produce the life we think we should be living, this is what the list would look like. You know, this would be the fruit of the Spirit. Purity, monogamy, godly worship, contentment, selfless acts of service, unity among men, tolerance, satisfaction, and the not-so-wild fellowships, because we don't party, right? So the not-so-wild fellowships, and other good, wholesome things like these. If it's you and me, and it's us trying to decide and do better, and trying to produce something, that would be the list. To produce it. He says, no, that's not what happens. The Holy Spirit, Jesus' Spirit, produces the transformed life in you and gives you these: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So the easy way to see that is, look, the new man is who you are. Because all those things, that love, joy, peace, patience, that doesn't have anything to do with the outcome of the decisions. You're going to make those decisions, but He changes who you actually are. He puts the love there first. He puts the kindness there first. He puts the peace there first before you got to make a decision, before you got to try to figure out what the next step is. He produces the transformed life in you first. He changes who you are. I don't know if you know this. This is a couple in our church named Larry and Carol Webb. You guys know Larry and Carol, a few of you? They've been part of our partners of our church for several years. Larry, since January, has been dealing with an aggressive leukemia that's been attacking his system. And he just had it was Wednesday, Tracy and I have FaceTime, kind of called him to pray with him Tuesday night. And Wednesday was his bone marrow transplant, right? Which is amazing. It's funny when Larry and I talk about it because we're so kind of like non-medical that we kind of talk about things, and he'll describe things to me, and we just look at each other and go, that's so cool. You know, we have no idea what it really all fully means. But as he was describing, even this last time we were talking about it, as he was describing what was happening, I told my wife, I even mentioned it to Larry, I said, I just can't help but see the gospel in this. Because as he was describing this process to me, he said, Matt, you know, right before, for like 6 days before the transplant, he says, they have to kill everything in me first. He says, and then, after they kill everything that's good in me, that's good, that the cancer is destroying, then I get, from his son was the donor, he said, then I get this other stuff that's not mine, but I get it. And then it actually changes who I am. He said, believe it or not, Matt, he said, my blood type actually changes. He says, believe it or not, Matt, my DNA actually changes. And as he was telling me this, I just couldn't help but to go, oh my gosh, like, could this be more of a picture? Now that's hard because that's medical science, and we know that those don't always work. But I'm just telling you from a big picture standing of what God does for us. Is you and I have spent a long time, listen, you and I have really tried really hard to change our DNA and change our blood. And we think that's what being a Christian is all about. And we don't understand the fact that our role is not to produce anything. Our role, our job, our only job is to confess the sin in our life that brings death. To confess the battle of the two selves that says, God, I could try to figure this out, and I might get a pretty decent decision out of this, but let's just be honest. It all brings hopelessness at the end. To confess and give that to Him and allow it to be crucified with Christ so that I can walk in the Spirit in all the areas of my life and allow Him to produce what I need to make better decisions in my life. What I need, who I am. I need Him to change me, I need Him to change who I am, change that DNA, change that blood type to where it's His, not mine. My only role is to kill. My only role is to confess. My only role is to acknowledge what's broken and what brings death and allow Him to produce new life, new man.